on location at a farm stay. I've come here through my cousin who knows the people who own this place. I'm not going to mention the name of the farm. And since I'm posting this video, it means I've already left. Currently, I'm in the middle of this experience, and I'm not sure how it's going to end, because I am just dealing with things as they arise. I've found myself in yet another situation where there's a community, a group of people who seem to be looking towards one person as a sort of leader in an unhealthy way, in a cultish sort of way. And, that's to each their own. That in and of itself is not a crime. It's like really no one's business, unless someone is being harmed in some way. And I've yet to determine whether that is the case, but there's a child here. And there have been some things said to this child in front of me that causes me concern. Because as we know, what people do in private is often worse, than what's done in public. And what has been done in front of me publicly is concerning. This child was threatened, like in a joking manner, but it's not a joke, it's not funny to speak to a child in such a way, and to tell a child, like, hey, if you don't mind me, I'm going to tie you to a tree, and you're going to stay there all night. Hey, if you don't mind me, I'm going to make you sleep in the pen with the rabbits in their poop. And this kid wasn't even doing anything wrong. It's a very docile, quiet, loving child. This was said to me said to this child at dinner time. I think just because they were trying to get his attention, he wasn't paying attention. He was playing with his toy. And the community, first it was the leader guy who made the comment about tying the kid to a tree, and then the other community members started chiming in, saying, well, you can sleep with the rabbits and the poop. Do you want to do that? And they were all laughing as if this is just like, maybe this is something they do for a good time. It's like, pick on this kid. I don't know. But no one seemed to raise an eyebrow other than me. And I believe I said, wow, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth, because it's not okay. But I stopped there because I realized I needed just to observe. And oftentimes, if we're reactive, we can make a situation worse for a person who is being abused. So, that's information for me, that they're like bullying a 4-year-old. And he is very, very docile and quiet and shy and sweet, and I was like that as a child who was abused. And so that doesn't mean a child is abused, but it means that a child like that, who has that temperament, is predisposed to abuse because they want to please, because they're good, because they're quiet, right? So there's that. And so this video is just me like making notes about things I've seen that have caused me to raise an eyebrow. So there's that. The first day I arrived, I've been here like 4 days now. The first 4 or 5. The first day I arrived, I walked into the dining hall and I noticed immediately there was a large painting, much like you see this symbol right here in this painting, this drawing. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So, these geometric patterns, they're Merkabas is what they are. They're rainbow, and then in the painting that's in the kitchen or the dining hall, there are letters running down each side and numbers running down each side. And I could tell immediately that this was some kind of code or symbol. It wasn't random. It had a meaning, something to be deciphered. And so I asked immediately, I said, oh, what is that? That's, that looks interesting. And the woman giving me the tour, this is the mother of the child. She said, oh, Elijah painted this. It has very significant meaning. You'll have to talk to Elijah. And I thought, oh, okay, interesting. So when I did see him later at dinner, I did ask him about it. And I said, like, I noticed this right away. Like, obviously it has some sort of meaning. Like, what does it mean? And he was he wouldn't tell me what it meant. He wanted to be very secretive. And, like, he did tell me that this was a divine revelation that he was given by God, and that it was his contribution to humanity, and that and he was like talking about how it was like a scientific discovery or information that was going to change humanity. And he was speaking as if like this had been confirmed by scientists, okay? So I asked him, I said, oh, so did you like write a thesis or a paper and submit this? Because that's how he was speaking. And I said, oh, no, because he said he would be killed, okay? He said, like, if the powers that be, the people who run the world, knew he had this information, he would be in danger. And he also said that, that he had submitted this and presented it to different doctors and sciences who he thought could use this information to change the world in a positive way. And that any child could look at this and understand it intuitively, basically, was what he was saying, intuitive. But that the most intelligent people in the world are baffled by it. And that says to me, bullshit, okay? Because that's his way of saying, I can't explain it to you because it doesn't make sense. Basically, because if it's so simple, and you're so smart, because this is what they told me, is that this guy is a genius. The woman told me when I asked her about, oh, we have to ask Elijah, he's a genius. So I'm speaking to a genius that I'm asking him, explain this to me, and he either can't explain it or he won't explain it. He's telling me, oh, I'm going to give you an opportunity, he says, to figure this out while you're here. I don't want to spoil the fun of it. So he wants me to spend my time meditating on this and thinking hard about it to try to figure it out. I said, oh, okay, well, it seems like maybe you're using gematria here. And the other people in the room, now mind you, these people I've learned are like all on board with this divine revelation, and it seems to be something that's a guiding principle in their life here. They say, oh, what's gematria? Now that he says, oh yes, it does employ gematria. Okay, but they don't even know what gematria is. So like, how is it that they understand what it is they're following if they don't even know the tools that you've used to create it? Like, if you've used gematria in the development of this thing that everyone's looking to, it seems like you would have mentioned gematria and what it is and the explanation to them of how to understand it. So that hasn't happened, obviously. And these people don't understand because that's a red flag is what I'm saying. He doesn't want them to understand, and there's probably nothing to understand much. Okay. I think he wants these people to look to him for answers, because he is able to understand something that they can't. And I noticed also at dinner that they all have the number 486 tattooed on their wrist, okay? And the number 486 is scattered throughout the property. It's written on, like, address, like, you know, they've made up numbers on the buildings, and you see 486. There's a Moby Dick statue made out of rocks out front of the dining hall, it's a Moby Dick, a white whale with a saddle on it. It's a starlight painted on a rock behind it, and it says established 486. So I noticed they all have this number tattooed on them. So I inquire about it, like, what does 486 mean? And the woman, she's like fumbling with her words. She can't explain it. But she has this thing tattooed on her, and oh, well, it's a measurement of light, she says. Like, it's a very precise, you'll have to ask, she said basically it's like the light of God, the measurement of the light of God. Okay. Now, she doesn't tell me how this is, like, been determined or who measured it or anything like that. But I'll have to ask. I have to ask Elijah, she says, because Elijah is a genius. Okay, well, this is what you hear in cults. Like, I've been a part of a cult in my early 20s. I was part of a cult in Austin, Texas, called Church of the Path. Now, I knew it was a cult, and I was led there by a woman that I was dating. I was interested in her, so I went to the church services. I realized right away it was a cult, but I was also very interested in what they were teaching, and because people there were highly intellectual. It was very intellectually stimulating in a way that I had never experienced before. And so I went more as just like a social experiment, an investigation, curiosity. But I knew when it got too weird that I was going to pull out. And I did eventually. When they tried to get me to drop out of school, to sell my car, they told me I was a thief because I was living on credit. And then they would also, like, reprimand me. I was reprimanded for not leaving an offering one Sunday after the service. I had no money. I was a poor college student. But I was called on the phone after the service and told that I was a thief for taking information from the pastor and not leaving a donation. So when they told me to drop out of school and sell my car, I said I'm out. But what I'm saying is everyone at that church would always start every sentence with, oh, Albert said, well, according to Albert, because they couldn't think for themselves. So I'm getting some of that flavor here when I ask about their belief system, and they have to say, oh, refer to Elijah because he's a genius. Okay, so that tells me that he's got them under some sort of impression that they can't think for themselves, that he's got them under some sort of a spell, okay? So there's that. So he was either unwilling or I think he's unable to explain his thing because I don't think it has a lot of sense to it. I mean, I'm sure there's something to it, but it's not. I do not believe that it's a divine revelation. I believe people are given revelations, but I don't believe people who are given revelations are the types of people who go around controlling other people. I don't believe God entrusts those sorts of people with information like that. I believe the devil does give people ways to control other people, because the devil's controlling people through people. And so I noticed that right away, like, oh, this isn't cool. Like, this dude, I get to see through his eyes that he is manipulative. But he's a highly intelligent person. I think he's a bit of a sociopath. Because I could tell that he's just like analyzing me. And I believe that he has pegged me as an intelligent person who has qualities that he might be able to he might like to take advantage of. And he is determining whether or not he might be able to take advantage of me. The answer to that question is no, but he doesn't know that yet. He's revealing things to me and seeing how I respond to them. So there was that interaction, and then he took me on a tour last night. So I'd been here like 3 days. Night before last, after 3 days here, he took me on an official tour of the entire property. I'd seen like the gardens, but he asked if I might like to see the rest of the property, and I said, yeah, do you mind if I record this for my project, being mycelium? And he said, oh, and he stammered. I was like, no, and he acted like, he said, I feel like I won't be able to like speak freely. I'll be self-conscious, and like he didn't want to be on camera. And I said, okay, let's, I respect people's boundaries. I thought that was weird because he comes across as like he's so intelligent and that he's a genius. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to me that a genius would be concerned if they don't have the right words to say, But whatever. So I said, okay, no problem. So he shows me like where they keep their extra things on the property. Like they have this big van or like old RV that they put, it's like the junk drawer of the property. He says, oh, this is like where we like put all of our stuff that when we go to Burning Man. This is all that kind of stuff, like our costumes and things like that. I was like, oh, okay, they go to Burning Man, interesting. And because they from what I understand, they're like highly religious, and they study the Bible a lot. Not that those two things can't happen simultaneously, but my understanding is that Burning Man is like pretty hedonistic. And so he tells me they go to Burning Man. Then he shows me a sleeping quarters. It was like this old barn, horse trailer that's been converted into 4 sleeping chambers. He says, we use this when we have retreats. We just had one. Like I said, oh, what kind of retreats do you do? He said, oh, we do ayahuasca retreats. We do psilocybin retreats. Okay, cool. So, then he tells me, oh, do you see that tree over there? Like, and it has this tree that's like wrapped in this gossamer stuff. And he's like, let me show you this. And I walk up, and there's like all these charms hanging off this tree. There's money on the ground all around it, like coins. There's a snake, like a diamond-studded snake. Just like charms. It looks like a place that, like an altar of some sort. Like, and he's watching me look at it as if like he wants to see my reaction. Which my reaction is, okay, like, you decorated a tree. The energy I get off this guy is like, he's very impressed with himself. And he's looking to see how I respond to his creation. Like whether or not I think he's like a genius, basically. Which, no, I don't think he's a genius. But so it's like, oh, aren't I so quirky and like eccentric, that sort of thing. Like, okay, so I'm like, cool, and he's like, you can look at it if you want, which I thought was weird. It's like, well, yeah, I am looking at it. Like, is it holy and special? Like, it's a tree that has garbage hanging off of it. So, then he proceeds to tell me all of the future plans of this property, and including the finances, which I find strange. To me, this implies that he is trying to entice me in some way to stay here, because I'm just a random person who came here on a work trade. There's no reason for you to be telling me how much money you guys make here as a community and all of the details of what you're going to be doing here moving forward, including like the structures you're going to be building. And he told me they made $250,000 the first year that they did Airbnb here, and they're basically embroiled in a lawsuit or a legal battle with the county, who's like put a stop on their ability to use Airbnb. So he said, oh, we've lost $1 million in the last year, because if, you know, we made $250,000 the first year. So, you know, if we would have been able to continue, it would have only gotten better. So we're like, the math we're doing is that they've caused us to lose $1 million. And then he tells me all the brilliant ideas he has moving forward to make this into a place where basically they can make money by capturing people's attention when they come to stay here. Okay, so he tells me all this, then he shows me 2 houses that are empty, and tells me, oh, this is where like people stay when they stay long-term work trade, and we're about to furnish this one all new like this weekend. And so it says to me, like, this is like, he's trying to let me know, like, if I want to stay, this is I could have this, you know. And then he says that he's going to show me a space that's like private, basically, like just for the people who live here, or when they have parties, this is a space they use. Like, he tells me this is the adult space. And I say, okay. And then, so you go walk up on the porch, there's a big flag with a star and light coming out of it, like morning star. Like, I don't know, like, I got the impression of like Lucifer, like morning star. And the porch is just like littered with like odds and ends and rocks and stones and gems, and like, it's very chaotic. And he tells me, okay, I'm gonna go in first because I want you to get the full effect. And he goes, this place is like, he goes on to explain basically what it sounds to me like it's a temple of some sort. Like, he tells me, this is where we keep the remains of Arcadians who have passed away. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to mention this name of this place, but whatever. So I said, oh, how long have you guys been here? Because like, people passed away, you know. Wow, that's kind of weird. Did you like have a lot of old people living? Because he said, oh, we've been here for 7 years. So apparently people have died here in the last 7 years. I don't know. He tells me there's urns with their ashes, and there's a headstone like right next to the front door. It's a gravestone. And he says, this is so-and-so, his remains are inside. So he goes in for a few minutes. He turns on lights. He turns on music. He brings me inside. Well, I walk into basically what is a temple dedicated to Baphomet. Like the pedophile, bisexual, pagan god Baphomet. The goat man. Okay, there's a throne in the middle of the back of the room, in the middle of the room. It's black, and it has gold writing symbols all over it, and it says 666 on it. There's a rug in front of it of a goat skin with the horns. Behind it, there's a painting of Baphomet. All around it, there are photos of naked men and women, very homoerotic. Some of them look hermaphroditic. You're really unable to tell, like, is this a man or a woman? Like, because it's very objectifying, because a lot of it, there's no head. It's just like the torso of the body and the genitalia, and the body kind of looks like feminine, but then there's a penis, which, that brings to mind Baphomet, because there's this like sort of like connection between transgenderism and bisexuality and like amorphous sexuality when it comes to Baphomet. And it's interesting to me that this is what's being presented in the world right now, is a lot of like sort of imagery, like satanic and dark, and also transgenderism is like really being shoved down everyone's throats. So this is like the spirit we're living in the world right now. It's like coming down. So this is what he's showing me, and there are pictures of the people who live here. Like, he's like anointing them, like in some sort of ceremony. He's wearing horns with women kissing him, like erotically. There are like shrines dedicated to him and his family. Very creepy, like writing scrawled on the wall and on these altars. Like, okay, have you guys ever seen the movie Seven, about a serial killer? Like, it gives that sort of flavor. Like, this to me feels like something and there's drawings of like the human anatomy, okay, various body parts. Then you have like drawings and depictions of scenes from the Bible with angels and demons, like scenes from the book of Revelations. Also money, jewels, gems scattered everywhere, skulls, spines, real, like from animals. Then there's like a human skull, which I couldn't tell if it was real or not. Now, he's just watching me, like, very kind of excited about, like, showing me this. It seemed. That's the energy I was getting. Like, he's just trying to see how I'm going to react to this. Now, this is a very weird, bizarre thing to show to a stranger. Okay? Like, we all know this is not, like, socially acceptable, normal thing. Normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a shit if it's normal? But it's dark. And most of us know, who have any level of intelligence, know that showing this to somebody could be sort of traumatic because of the imagery. Like, you got body parts, bones of dead things, naked people, very sexual imagery, like interspersed with images of Baphomet, who's a pagan god, and also Jesus Christ and things from the Bible. Like, this is dark, okay? So to show someone this without any sort of warning or asking of permission of like, hey, I would like to show you something that could be, I don't know what your past has been like, it could be triggering for you. There is none of that. And this is being showed to me by someone who's supposedly a genius. So he understands human, and he is smart. That's evident. Okay? So he understands human psychology. And what I feel that was being done to me was some sort of like, he wanted to, I don't want to say he was trying to traumatize me, but it was a sort of like, look how, like, I'm powerful. Like, this is his. Like, he created the space, and I'm pretty sure he's the one sitting on that throne. And everything in there was like people, like he was in charge. He was anointing people in these photos, and they were kissing him. And he was in the horn, so I'm pretty sure he sits on that throne. So it was like his way of letting me know, like, I'm special, and like he wanted to create some sort of conflation between God and the devil and him, like power. Okay, and he had to know on some level it could also be it's traumatizing in a sort of way. So he was trying to fuck with me psychologically, is what I'm saying here. And he also was trying to see how I would respond. Like, can I take this further now? Okay, I'm revealing this thing. Because you don't just reveal this sort of thing to anybody. He had already obviously got the impression that I'm like an open-minded person. That I'm not going to judge him. Right? But also, like, maybe he thinks that he can pull me into his web. So I didn't freak out. You know, I just observed it and I said, oh, interesting. I asked a few questions about, like, did you do these paintings? He said, oh, no, that's an artist of mine, which I found interesting, the verbiage there. Not like, this was done by an artist friend of mine, or like, I represent this artist. No, he said, this was done by one of my artists. So, anyways, I feel like that whole tour was like his way of like subtly letting me know, like, I'm maybe interested in you staying here. So, you know, once again, this is just me documenting all the sort of like red flags and the information that I'm taking in about this space. I noticed also they had some workers here yesterday. They were at dinner the night before. That's the day he showed me all of that night at dinner. They were talking about the work that was going to be done on the property the next day, and the crew that was coming, and how they're from Mexico. They were all making jokes about Mexicans, like racist jokes, which I found odd because they're all Mexican. Like, they all have some sort of like Mexican in them. Like, maybe they're not 100% from Mexico. Like, they have different races within them, but they all speak Spanish. So they were laughing about how, like, they were basically paying them nothing, and how, you know, wow, like, and like, he made a joke about how they should get them all drunk, and there were jokes being made about how, like, Mexicans are just like lazy, and like, they drink on the job, and that they should ply them with alcohol and like steal their equipment and just do the work themselves, you know, like things like that, which I found very like distasteful and disrespectful. And then he referred to them yesterday. He came and knocked on my door and asked if I would be able to take out, like, he had put a casserole in the oven for lunch, and he said, I put some food in the oven for the forced labor, referring to these guys that they had hired, apparently, that are from Mexico. And which the night before he was making fun of them and talking about how Mexicans are lazy and they don't have, like, it's so funny that they don't have to pay them anything. And then he referred to them to me as forced labor, which I'm just like, okay. I said, yeah, no problem, I can do that. But I just like, what? Okay, so there's a lot going on. Like, he's like making these people believe that he's got some sort of higher level of intelligence than they do. He's like talking in an abusive manner to a child, like threatening physical torture, basically. He also told me that the night that he was explaining this imagery, this painting of his, it's so esoteric that, like, it's so simple a child can understand it, but he's not going to take the time to explain it to me, and it seems that no one else there can explain it either because they don't quite understand it. He tells me that, like, oh yes, the shapes are, the geometric shapes are indeed Merkaba, and that at the time that this was revealed to him, he was given a light body, a Merkaba. A Merkaba is like a vehicle for traveling. Okay. and I said, oh, okay, like, you can do this at will? And he says, oh, yeah. So he tells me, but then he says, oh, well, like, he's like him and hawing, like, yes, you can, or no, you can't, like, which one is it? So it was unclear. Like, I said, how do you get into this light body? Like, is it through meditation? Do you leave your body when you're sleeping? Yes, he says. Like, well, what, all of it, or which one? Like, but so basically, like, what he's trying to tell me is, like, he's everywhere all at once if he wants to be. He can see anything because he can leave his body at will and travel around in this Merkaba. Now, the last place I was at, okay, where I helped 2 young people escape a situation where they were being psychologically abused and controlled by this guy who was a Scientologist who was threatening physical violence. One of the things he told them, and that he told me when I was there, was that he could leave his body at will and that he could float around. This is a way of making people believe they have no privacy. That's what that is. Like, I see all, I know all. That's the implicit message there. Okay, so this is his way of letting me know, like, you can't get away with anything without me knowing it. So he's running this game where he's got everybody thinking he's a genius, who God speaks to, who sees all and knows. Like, basically, he's a God. That's what God is. God knows all and sees all. And, you know, God doesn't control people. God gives us free will. And God doesn't threaten children. He protects children. But, you know what? Satan controls people. Satan delights in people's pain and torture. So, there's something weird happening here. And, I know I'm here for a reason. And I'm here, to help someone, potentially. So that's why I did not leave when I found out. Like, if it was just about me, I would leave. Because I have no desire to be surrounded by a bunch of people who can't think for themselves. And I have no desire to be around a person who thinks that he's, like, so much more intelligent than me that he could potentially manipulate and control me, which is what's going on. I would just say, okay, I see what's happening. I'm not interested. But I realized that I was brought here for a reason. Because this keeps happening. And it started happening after I gave my life to God. So, my cousin knows these people. She's known the woman who lives here who has the child for 7 years. But never met her in person. They talk on the phone, they do Zoom meetings, they do Bible studies together. Now, she's known her for 7 years, but they both only came to Christ a few years ago. So they've only been doing this Bible study for a few years. Now, my cousin was involved in witchcraft. She was a high priestess, like in the pagan religion. So I'm really unsure, like, if they were, like, connected initially because of that sort of thing. Like, obviously, if my cousin was involved in that stuff, she was also attracting other people who may be involved in the dark arts. Now, I told my cousin, I called her and let her know what's going on because she's coming to visit here. And I said, please don't bring your daughter, and you need to know this is going on. And I said, how do you exactly know these people? And she didn't say that they met because of, like, witchcraft, but she was obviously, like, running in circles with people who were involved in that sort of stuff. So, but her impression was that she had no reason to believe that this person is involved in what I told her is happening here, and she was shocked. So obviously this is being done secretly. Like, she's known this person for 7 years and has no idea about this temple. Like, so it's interesting to me that I've been here for a few days and this is revealed to me. That's very odd, I found. And I was being asked during the tour that he was giving me, like, now where do you call home? Like, where are you set? Like, you know, I had already told them that I travel. Like, I mentioned that the first night, that I said I live everywhere and nowhere. Like, I'm just like living for God. So they already know that. So I feel that him saying that to me again, asking me like, what do you call home? And then, oh, look, this is where people who stay here get to have these quarters, and like, this is what we do for adult time. And he told me that space, that's temple, he said, this is the adult space. I said, how often do you guys come in here? He said, oh, not every day. It's just like for special occasions when we have parties. And, you know, this would be like the place that you might come when you want to do like cocaine. Now, that's another thing I find weird. Like, this guy has no idea about my relationship to drug use, whether or not that I do drugs or I find that acceptable. Like, obviously he's not concerned with being judged, and that's good, but like, also like, it's like a boundary thing. To me, it says like this guy has poor boundaries and doesn't have a regard for like other people's. That's something you feel out. It's not just something like, oh, please welcome to my den full of bones and like snake skins and like devil imagery, and this is where we do cocaine, and like, look at all the naked people on the wall. Like, that's weird. That's weird. And it's weird that my cousin has known these people for 7 years and doesn't know about this. Okay, so this is like, this life is spiritual, okay? This is all spiritual warfare. And I'm here on behalf of my God. And it's yet to be determined what it is I'm supposed to do, other than see the truth and to speak it. That doesn't mean I call people out, but I do believe that there will be a discussion at some point with me and my cousin and this woman who lives here with this child, because this is my main concern right now is the child. All of these people are adults. They can all make their own decisions about how they want to live and if they want to be in a cult. But whenever you're bringing a child into this situation, and it's a situation in which you are looking to some sort of dark god that is in favor of pedophilia, and the guy in charge seems to be a sociopath who's encouraging people not to think for themselves, and is like making a joke about torturing your child. Like, at dinner he did this right in front of the mother, and she didn't bat an eye. If someone would have said that to my child, like, it was all I could do not to stand up and say, like, what are you doing? Like, this is wrong. So the fact that the mother didn't say anything and that she actually laughed and like participated in it, okay, that's where my concern is right now, is for the child. So that's all. I just wanted to document all of this. It's like a very long video, but you'll see that most of my videos, a lot of my videos are talking about situations similar to this. So this is my life now. I'm not able to stop this yet. I'm recording this on Facebook Live, so okay, now I can stop it.